What is going on, everyone? Welcome to day 24 of the Halloween Horror 3. And I know you guys are going to point out the little wet spot on my shirt. Don't mind that. Um, so, yeah, I wasn't prepared for this video. It's been one of those days. I've been just trying to do a lot. So, I apologize if this video seems to be just a little all over the place. But for day 24, I'm actually going to be reviewing one of my favorite Friday the 13th films, and that is the 2001 film Jason X, or in better terms, Jason 10. So, the plot for this is you have Jason who ends up getting sentenced for all the crimes he has committed from Friday the 13th up into, I want to say, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, and his sentence is pretty much being frozen. So he is frozen for, I believe, a few centuries, and then a group of these, I want to say, like, they're astronauts, they're like a team of like scientists and things like that, kind of the cliche sci-fi type of characters who work at a space station, um, go down to Earth, and they find Jason, of course, still frozen. They know exactly. I want to say they might have not been paying attention too much on it, but I do believe they were mentioning, who he was and everything, and they bring him on the ship. And while they're there, of course, they start to thaw him out, and then Jason goes on his rampage. And then, of course, that builds up and leads to the iconic new suit and mask that he has. I wouldn't say suit, but just like the new costume and the new mask, which I'm going to be honest, I do like. So, yeah, that's pretty much the plot. It's basically a Friday the 13th movie in space, which, of course, is not the first time a horror icon has gone into space. Leprechaun, I believe, actually did it before. Um, but yeah, Jason X has always been one of those fun ones for me. I've always liked a good horror film in space, as long as it's got a good story. I do enjoy it. This one has a decent story, but it's just a fun movie. I like the fact that this has one location, which is always great to have in horror films. It really builds the tension, I feel, and this definitely builds into that. I like the fact that it takes place like like so many centuries. I believe because I believe Jason gets frozen in the 21st century and then isn't thawed out until the 25th century. So I like how they interpret, the technology has changed and things like that. So I think that's pretty cool. And I do, of course, I like the costume, as I've stated. And it's crazy to look back that this movie came out in 2001. I remember in 2002 this film coming out. I want to say on like DVD and VHS. And I know it gets a lot of hate. I know a lot of people do not like this movie, but I've always enjoyed it for what it is. It's just a fun, cheesy, in a way you can call it a horror sci-fi type of film, because I mean it is taking place in space. It's got some Star Trek vibes, especially with like their little hologram type of thing that they have. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that's kind of something you see in a lot of sci-fi films. They've definitely have gotten their inspiration from Star Trek, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, the fact that you got Jason all decked out in a new suit and everything. The mask, I love the mask. Probably my, I would say, top five favorite horror villain masks. I know that's saying a lot, but I do like it. And I feel like Jason X, that version of Jason definitely is underrated, because it's menacing. He's using these like nanobites type of, things to basically give him this new, you know, power, basically this new strength and everything. So yeah, just a really interesting thing. And it has its cheesy moments, and the acting might not be that great. But you know, for a film that came out in 2001, I have to give it a pass. But I've probably seen this movie way too many times, probably more often than any of the other Friday the 13th films. I'm just a sucker for like sci-fi type of horror, as long as it's got a good story and it can keep me invested. Now, the characters in this film are great. There's one character who's kind of like the pothead type character. Um, excuse me. Kind of reminds me as that one character from Freddy vs. Jason, who's kind of like the Jason Mewes type of character. There's a character in this movie that kind of reminds me of that. And then, of course, you have one of the characters who has this like relationship of some sort with an android or a robot. Yeah, it's kind of weird. The actress who plays this android or robot to take on Jason, she's been in other things. I just can't put you know what other projects she had done, but I remember her seeing in something else during that time, and to this day I still can't remember it. Um, and there's a couple recognizable you know, faces. Now, the way Jason takes out his victims, I think they got really creative, and just, I think, adds, you know, well, some of them add to the just the intensity when you know, you're realizing that these characters are in space, so you know there could be a lot that can happen. And one of the scenes that they did, and this will be a spoiler, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch the movie and then come back. But I am going to spoil this. There's a scene right when Jason gets thawed out, gets up and takes out his first victim, and the way they do it, um, I think out of the entire franchise, I think was very creative. I mean, there's some that are creative, but this one, I think at the time, at least from what I could remember, to me it was creative. I think they've done similar things like this before, but it was just, you know, the doctor of some sort in this movie. Basically, you know, Jason grabs her, she's screaming, and then he puts her face in this I forgot what the chemical is, but it freezes her face instantly, and then, you know, he basically ends up smashing it. And at that time, I thought you know, whoever wrote the script for this, I thought, you know, really had some creative ideas. But yeah, some of the way Jason takes out the victims are great and creative. Others are, you know, kind of cliche. You kind of expect them in other you know, in other films, you know, the cliche of, you know, the what's the better term, because I know you got to kind of be careful with YouTube and what you say. You know, a lot of cliche ways to take out, you know, the victims in the horror films is usually the knife, or, you know, whatever, Jason used, the machete and things like that. But there are a few that I think they get, you know, done really well. And then they also incorporate VR, which I thought was pretty cool. So there are some really unique things about this movie, but then there's also those cliche formulas that we've seen in other films. But all in all, I feel like it's one of those so good it's bad as well, or it could be a guilty pleasure for some. But all in all, I just think Jason X is a fun movie, highly underrated, and I feel like it definitely deserves a little bit more credit for what it is. And I feel like that Jason look, I think, deserves a little more credit as well. And I feel like they could have done more with that. If the ending was different, I think they could have explored more after Jason X, but that was it. And we wouldn't get a Friday the 13th film until the remake came out in 2009. So, excuse me. But with that being said, thank you guys so much. Again, you know, I apologize if this video is a little all over the place. But I hope you guys enjoyed my review and my thoughts on the film. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to hear your opinion. Definitely give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm going to be working on my top 10 favorite 4K transfers and releases, so that'll be coming up pretty soon. And then I will be doing a really cool video as well that I don't want to tell you guys. That one's going to be a really cool one that I think you guys will like. And then yeah, there's just a few other things I got to work on, and just keep an eye out for the next few videos. But with that being said, I'm Film Talk with Mikey, and until next time, guys, we'll talk films. You guys have a good one. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.